The ancient Greeks were a curious society with many questions about the world around them, leading them to create their own beliefs on how the world came to be. They shared their beliefs by spreading stories of how their gods and all the creatures that were created formed the world that they lived in. Many of these creatures served as obstacles for the many heroes that Greek storytellers would create. Some creatures represented aspects of human life that a person would need to overcome, while others aided heroes and represented the positive attributes within a person. These creatures were depicted in various pieces of ancient Greek art alongside gods and heroes. Through these pieces of art, we are able to understand how the ancient Greeks viewed these creatures from a visual standpoint. The Minotaur has a head and tail of a bull, but the body of a man. The name is a compound word of Minos and bull, meaning bull of Minos. It was known to be the son of Queen Pasiphae and a majestic bull. Daedalus and Icarus helped the queen disguise herself as a cow so she could have sex with the bull. After the Minotaur was born and King Minos found out about her affair, he forced Daedalus and Icarus to build an elaborate labyrinth or maze for the Minotaur to stay in and enslave them as their punishment. Queen Pasiphae named it Astrion, meaning the starry one, which led it to become the constellation of the Taurus. Theseus volunteered to go in the maze and bragged about how he was going to kill the Minotaur. King Minos' daughter fell in love with Theseus and gave him a string to attach himself to in order to find his way out of the maze. In the end, Theseus killed the Minotaur barehanded and made it out alive. The Minotaur is portrayed on many works of pottery in this time period. Most of the art that includes the Minotaur depicts the Minotaur as defeated by Theseus. This art piece shows a very common Greek theme of civilized versus uncivilized throughout his battle story. The Nemean lion is one of the most famous beasts of Greek mythology. It is the child of Typhon and Echidna, the father and mother of all monsters. Others say its parents are Zeus and Selene. The Nemean lion is a creature that has impenetrable fur. It has claws that are sharper than any sword and can cut through the strongest armor. This lion lived in a cave on Mount Traitos in Nemea, which is how the lion was named the Nemean lion. This beast captured local women, but instead of killing them, it waited for the men to come back and rescue them, like a gentleman. The Nemean lion was Heracles' first task, in which he defeated the lion. After the Nemean lion died, he became known as the constellation Leo. The Cerberus is a creature that is depicted as a hound with 3 heads and is the guardian of the underworld. It is famous in 2 different Greek mythological stories where it is facing off against different heroes. The first hero it faced off against was Orpheus, a legendary lyre player who bested Cerberus by lulling it to sleep. Its next encounter was of Heracles, who fought it off as one of his 12 labors issued by King Eurystheus. Thanks to the protection of his Nemean lion skin, Heracles bested Cerberus by strangling it. Heracles then proceeded to drag the Cerberus through the land of the living to prove his victory, and then dragged Cerberus back to Hades, all while the light in the living world tortured the hound. Cerberus is one of the only monsters that fought against Hercules and survived. Its conflict with Heracles is depicted on a vase showing Heracles presenting Cerberus to King Eurystheus, who is obviously fearful of the creature as he hides in a large vase. The scene depicted reveals how fearsome the creature was. Its size almost exceeds that of Heracles himself, who seems like he himself is having trouble holding the beast back. Although his gleeful expression could suggest he is scaring the king on purpose as small payback for giving him the difficult tasks, the expression on all of the Cerberus's heads are angry, which makes sense considering it has been presented in front of the man who made it get strangled. The Hydra is a fearsome serpent-like beast with the ability to grow 2 additional heads for every one head chopped off. Thanks to this ability, it was seemingly invincible. Under the orders of Hera, it famously fought against Heracles. With the aid of his nephew, who stopped the regeneration of heads with fire, Heracles was able to chop off all of its heads and kill it once and for all. The Hydra's conflict is depicted on the Greeks' favorite canvas, yet again another vase. The art shows Heracles and his nephew fending off against the beast, who seems very close to ending either of their lives, proving that even against Heracles, this monster was no joke. Most of the heads are focused on Heracles, which makes sense considering Heracles has already proven himself the bigger threat by creating most of the heads depicted in the artwork. Medusa is one of the oldest and most popular Greek mythological creatures. She is one of 3 Gorgons, the other 2 being her sisters who were immortal. Medusa wasn't always a monster. She once was a beautiful and charming woman who was a priestess in the temple of Athena. Because she was a priestess, she took an eternal oath of sexual purity. Many men longed for her. However, the god Poseidon wanted her for himself. He transformed into a horse and mated with Medusa in the sanctuary of Athena. When Athena heard of this, she was enraged. However, she couldn't hurt Poseidon, so she was petty and took her anger out on Medusa by transforming her into a hateful monster with snakes as hair and face so ugly that when people looked at her, they turned into stone. Medusa had godlike strength and potent venom that could kill someone in seconds if they were bitten or even touched her blood. She was then defeated by a man named Perseus. The mythological creatures of Greece represent the interpretation of the reality that people face. It is through the stories that were passed down from generation to generation that we are able to know of these creatures and of their actions. We are also able to visually picture them and understand what their significance is through art pieces. Each creature had its own meaning that gave many lessons, such as what to be cautious of, the potential that can be found in the world, or even the potential that could be found within oneself. The people of ancient Greek spread these stories to have fun and learn about the world, and the art pieces featuring these creatures remain as reminders of the lessons that were learned.